Good morning and welcome to A View from the House. My name is Asanda Mbeche, joining the team presenting this program live from Parliament. In our broadcast today, we focus on the joint parliamentary debate where South Africa's new National Development Plan was presented to the President this week. But before we go there, we take a look at a member statement in Parliament on the loss of lives at the Lonmin Platinum Mine near Marikana in the Northwest Province. Yesterday, South Africa was shocked by live visuals and photos of the violent clashes between police and protesters, claiming the lives of at least 18 people. According to the National Union of Mine Workers, the latest incident at the mine could have pushed the death toll up to 30 people. In a member statement in Parliament earlier this week, the ANC condemned the violence and appealed for calm in the area.
The ANC condemns the senseless killing of at least 9 people, including 2 policemen who were hacked to death. The violence allegedly stems from a dispute between 2 rival unions at Longman's Western Platinum operations in the Northwest Province. The ANC believes that violence is never a solution to settlement of disputes. Instead, the ANC urges all stakeholders, the mine management, the 2 unions, the National Union of Mine Workers and the Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union to commit themselves to the peaceful resolution of this problem. The African National Congress extends heartfelt condolences to the families of the deceased, as well as wishes a speedy recovery to those injured. The ANC also appeals for calm in the area and calls on the police to deploy appropriate resources to protect the lives of the employees and as well as restoring order to that area.
Clearly at this stage, there is no party that has claimed responsibility for these killings, and we're calling on all stakeholders to work for peace in this area. Also, we know that there is an element of criminality, House Chairperson, in this, and we want to give the police the space to investigate this matter and bring the perpetrators to book. Finally, also to pass our word of condolences to the families of the bereaved of those mine workers.
We'll now look at the National Planning Commission's development plan, a plan to construct a new South Africa. This was how the Minister in the Presidency responsible for the National Planning Commission, Mr. Trevor Manuel, described the plan during the joint sitting on Wednesday. He said it was a call to unite as a country and to unleash the energies of its people to build a better future. Mr. Manuel said during the past 3 years, the Commission had engaged with thousands of South Africans from all walks of life. The Commission was impressed by the patriotic commitment of South Africans, their honesty on the problems facing the country, and the overwhelming sense of commitment to make South Africa a better place. The Commission also made a special effort to listen to young people.
Young women and men talked of the difficulties of finding work, of the frustration of not getting their foot in the door, of their pain at not receiving a regular income, and of basic things in life that being jobless excluded them from, such as starting a family. They also spoke to us about the ravages of crime on their lives and their communities. They expressed concern that good policies are poorly implemented and therefore fail. Honourable members, these are the voices of our youth expressing their frustrations that stem both from the intergenerational effects of apartheid and from shortcomings in our collective performance since 1994. The plan we present today focuses on how we can translate our political emancipation into social and economic benefits for all South Africans, but particularly for young people. That we change the life chances of young people is critical for the future of our country, and that we ensure that every young South African has a sense of hope and purpose in society is part of the mission that we must undertake.
Minister Manuel said the South Africa envisioned in the National Development Plan is one where no person should live in poverty and deep inequality.
We are convinced that our country can and must eliminate poverty. The Commission has used a simple poverty measure of 432 Rand per person per month in today's prices. Modest as this amount is, modest, 432 Rand per person per month is modest. There are still about 39% of South Africans who live below this line. by 2030, no one should live in poverty.
Mr. Emmanuel said the Commission's approach in tackling poverty and inequality was premised on faster and more inclusive economic growth, higher public and private investment, as well as improving education and skills. It also includes greater use of technology, better public services that would lead to higher employment, rising incomes, and falling inequality. The plan also talks to breaking down the apartheid legacy of special separation to an era of cities and towns connecting people differently. The plan is aimed at binding all South Africans and all aspects of life in South Africa into one successful nation.
We would have to create an additional 11 million jobs over the next 2 decades. Per capita income should rise from about 50,000 per person, where we are at present, to about 120,000, but distributed more evenly across the population. The economy will have to expand to almost 3 times the present level. The share of income accruing to the bottom 40% of the population should rise from 6% to at least 10% during this period. 90% of children in grade 6 should be able to read, write, and count at the appropriate level. I don't know why it's not 100%, but at least 90%, which will be a big change from the present. And all children should have access to proper nutrition from birth to ensure proper formative development. Now, it's worth digressing to remind all South Africans, but between that desirable state, and we are speaking of a South Africa where every child born will have access to nutrition. In fact, every pregnant mom should have access to nutritional support. Between that and the present, where even the school nutrition program is difficult to implement, there's a vast chasm. The object of the plan is to bridge such a chasm. Why does food not get delivered to children? Is the capacity of officials charged with the responsibility? Might it be that food is too expensive and impossible to secure? Might it be that tenders get in the way of the objective to feeding children? Or might it be that decision makers, including all of us with our constituency officers and so on, are too wealthy to care? Whatever the issue, a plan must boldly address the breakdown and invite all South Africans to become part of the solution.
Mr. Emmanuel said in its current state, South Africa would not achieve its target of eliminating poverty and reducing inequality by 2030. He stressed that the implementation of the National Development Plan rests with society as a whole, led by government and the executive.
Discussion between the Commission and government departments were often robust and frank. There were areas where departments were able to convince us that we were wrong on certain issues. There were also several areas where we were able to persuade and convince departments of the correctness of the recommendations in the draft plan when departments initially did not support these. There are areas where our plan differs from existing plans or policy. It's very much in the nature of planning that going forward there will need to be an alignment of plans both within and outside of government to a broad strategic plan proposed today. Parliament and society at large have a critical role to play in promoting such alignment, in holding various parties accountable for implementation.
Minister Emmanuel stressed that the plan is not just for government. Business, labour, civil society and individuals all have a role to play. Mobilizing all of society is a critical factor for the plan to succeed.
The plan will only succeed if we share collective responsibility to hold one another accountable to get things done. As a Commission, we will play our part. The life of the Commission does not end with the handing over of the plan today. The President has appointed the Commission for a period of 5 years, and we're about halfway through this term. The Commission will continue to mobilize society in support of the plan, conduct research on issues impacting the country's long-term development, advise government and other social partners on implementation, and work with relevant institutions to monitor and report on progress in achieving our long-term objectives. Outside of government, the NPC will meet with social partners to discuss their role in implementing the plan and construct an accountable chain for key recommendations.
Shortly, we'll take a look at what opposition parties had to say about the National Development Plan after a commercial break. But before we go to it, let's take a quick look at the moment when the plan was officially handed over to the President. Stay with us.